Welcome back to the shop. It's another day. Some parts arrived. This Adams Driveshaft DIY driveline kit they sell showed up. They put it in order for you so you can't even mess it up. And they even sent me a t-shirt with the order. Pretty cool. I've never done a DIY driveline kit because, you know, sometimes you don't trust yourself building a driveline, but I want to show you guys that with this kit you can build an off-road driveline. It won't be balanced unless you have a balancer at home, which I doubt you do, but on the rocks and rock crawlers and stuff, we're kind of slower speeds and we don't care about a little vibration at 70 down the highway because we are usually smashing into rocks with these products. So these are heavy duty, heavy wall tube driveline kits for your off-road vehicle, where it comes with the slip yoke and everything. If you know what ends you need and the length ish, they come in like 3 different options of length that you buy the tube and then you cut it down yourself, which is why I bought it. I wanted to be able to cut it down myself, press the ends in, weld them up, and then have my own driveline without having to wait on anybody else, and to show myself that I can do it. So I've got the transfer case back under the ElCamino. Back under here, my fixed yoke is in place. I drilled these out. They had threads in them. I drilled them out to take a U-bolt style that's stronger for your U-joint. And now I have to drop the car down to the ground for a ride height measurement. You measure right in the center of the yoke, so where the half of the U-joint cap would be is where you put your measuring tape from end to end at ride height. So then you can adjust for a little more up travel where it gets shorter, and then down travel where the driveline gets longer. Depending on your suspension setup, front or rear, that can flip-flop. So know your vehicle's suspension and how it works. Put weight on the suspension. If you don't have your shocks or your springs in, you can go to full bump and then full droop and measure. That's even better way of doing it. But if your vehicle is like a Jeep with coil springs, you're not going to pull those out. So you just measure it at ride height and give a little more room, like an inch or inch and a half for the when it gets shorter and up travel. Things like that. All depends on the vehicle and your driveline angles. So I'm going to put it down, measure ride height, and then measure my driveline length I need at ride height, and then I will show you the math we need to do and cut some tube, weld some tube, and we'll have a driveline. Alright, I'm laying on my back underneath the lift because we need to measure from the center of the yoke to the center of the yoke on the rear now that I am at ride height. Maybe you can see this, we'll find out. So from the center of that yoke to the center of this yoke, I'm about 40 and a half. Yep. So 40 and a half is my working driveline length at ride height, which should be about 3/4 up travel at ride height for this suspension, this setup that I built this for. So 3/4 of the slip is in, and only 1/4 of that length more when it goes to full bump. Alright, in this kit it comes with the end yoke, and you pick your U-joint size that your yokes on your transmission and rear end are. This one's easy, 1350, that's the size of the U-joint. So they send you this, and it's already marked with the center line to make it easy. They make this pretty much idiot proof, so hopefully I can do it. Nice box with their stuff on the inside, some stickers. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. I just really liked how they treated everybody they do sponsor, including Paul with Fab Rats. Like, they had a booth at the off-road games and Paul twisted one of these, which is kind of crazy. He was driving hard. Thanks, Paul, for putting on a show. But he twisted one of these and walked over to the Adams Driveshaft booth. They had what he needed. They handed it to him. Off he went. Super cool that they're there to support at big events. So this company, I say Napco, maybe the Driveline people, Adams, you guys can tell me how to say that, but they're the manufacturer of most of these parts. And Dana Spicer makes some too. And then the tubing for a drive shaft is DOM, it means drawn over mandrel. There's no seam that's welded on these, so the inside is a perfect diameter tubing. On highway vehicles, they don't do this thick because it's hard to balance this much weight that's rotating that fast. But off-road, where we smash it into rocks, we'd like it to not tear. Put in the clip of Stubbs Driveline on Pritchett with Rory and Trailmater.
Dang it! I know someone with the welder.
Yeah, we've got a welder.
Fresh off the press from Rory.
A Rory custom driveline.
Custom.
Everybody hit Rory up for a driveline if yours ever breaks.
That was a pretty thick wall too, but we just planted the whole truck on a rock. But anywho, pretty thick so you can hit a rock and still keep going. It might be a little bent and wobbly, but at least you can get off the trail. And this should be machined. Oh yeah, they machined it for us. And you have to press this in. This in, and the other half of the drive shaft is where the slip is. Holy smokes, this is beefy. And they do a longer, goodness. I compared prices online of these DIY driveline kits, and Adams was the cheapest. Not by much, they're all pretty much very close in price, but they were the cheapest, and they offer the longest slip in their kit. I think it's 7 inches of slip, which is crazy. And this thing is beefy, like huge, thick thing. So you can hit this on the rocks, it's not gonna do anything to it. And I'm pretty sure this is what Paul twisted, was this side of this slip yoke. Anyway, so most critical things when you're building a driveline is getting the U-joints in phase. Which means the U-joints, these lines that they put to help me line up. Because if they're off a little bit, then the U-joints bind and do weird things. So they have to be perfectly in line, because U-joints don't turn in a perfect circle. It's like an egg-shaped circle. So you have to have them in line with each other. And yeah, so easy way to do that. Pick where the writing is on the tube. It's in a perfectly straight line. Most of the time, verify it. And then line that up with your mark that Adams put for you. If you didn't have them doing this for us, we would mark that so it's a visual aid of where that line is. And then press it together and weld it up. But I gotta cut it to the right length. So I was 40.5 inches total length at working height. So you don't want to slam the slip all the way up and then weld it to that, because there'd be no movement in on the drive line. So unless you were at full bump and that, you know, that's when your drive line's going to be absolutely bottomed out, but still leave a little wiggle room for adjustment of suspension links and stuff like that. So where this has such a long slip, that really helps with the off-road world of long travel suspension, lots of geometry changing. So that's bottom. You hear that clunk? we can't run it there, so we're gonna run it. I'm almost to bump, like I said, 3/4 of my travel is droop and 1/4 is up travel. So I need 3/4 of this shaft to be in, so that when I go to full droop, it comes out that much. And then when I come to full bump, it bottoms, or it gets closer to bottom. And then I can measure from where the tube is gonna sit in this recessed part to know how long this piece is where I want it at ride height. You gotta measure from center of yoke. So I'm 12 inches there. Plus this side is 2 inches from where the tube is gonna sit to there. So 14 inches of my 40.5 is yoke. So I need to subtract that, and that will give me the tube length I need. 40.5 minus 14 equals 26.5 inches of tube length. And once I have 26 inches of tube length and I press these in and weld them, then I will have a total of 40.5 overall working length of the driveline. So let's get to work. I just got to cut this to 26.5. I'm going to line up my line with the lettering on the tube to make things easy for myself. And then I will press this on without messing up. Straight. And then we'll work on the other side. Now that you got that pressed in, since we don't have cool fancy driveline balance machines to spin them up and see if they're out of round, a good way to get some indication of if it's true or not is to roll it on your flattest table and watch the end. See if it walks up and down. You want to tack 2 or 3 spots so that it doesn't move with the heat. Once it's cooled off, I'm gonna pre-grease the splines a little bit, and there is a grease zerk to maintain lubrication on these, but we're gonna put some on first, just so it starts out with even lubrication. Looking good. Time will tell. We are back.